You know, Illustrator is a vector-based application, so it's only natural that you should be able to also export vector-based graphics out of Illustrator as well. And you can by generating Swift content directly out of Illustrator. And in this movie specifically, we'll talk about exporting what we call a static Swift, meaning that it doesn't actually move, there's no animation inside of it, but it could be quite helpful to export your artwork as a Swift file for a variety of reasons. First of all, you're able to zoom into that content if you want to view more information on the web, and you get nice clean results when you zoom in. And in addition, using Illustrator, it's also pretty easy to define hotspots so that people can click on different areas to be directed to a different URL. Now in this file right here called staticbanner.ai, I've created a file that's 300 pixels wide by 250 pixels deep. And by going to the window menu and choosing attributes, you can click on individual objects. In this case here I use symbols, and I've defined image map regions for those objects. Even though it's using the image map feature, which is generally an HTML feature, these do get translated to regular hotspots as if they were buttons inside of Flash. In this file, you can see that I've actually applied these hotspots to these three graphics that appear towards the bottom. Now there are two main ways to get Swift out of Illustrator. First of all, I can go to my usual, which is the Save for Web and Devices, and I can choose a Swift file as my format. So let's do that right now. I'm going to go to the File menu and choose Save for Web and Devices. For the file format here, I can choose Swift. And I also have the ability to preview this in my web browser to make sure that it looks correct. And you can see that the hotspots are active as well. There is one thing to note about these hotspots inside of Flash content. Because of the security settings that are actually available inside of the Flash player, you may need to make some adjustments inside of your web browser. I'll go back to Illustrator here, and I'll cancel out of Save for Web and Devices. And instead, I'm going to go to the File menu, and I'm going to choose Export. From the file format here, I'm going to choose to export this as Flash or Swift. Now, one of the benefits of actually exporting artwork in this way is that if I choose to use Artboards option, I have the ability to export multiple pieces of art at once. You see, when I'm using Save for Web, the only thing that gets loaded into Save for Web is the current active artboard. Now, in this document, I only have one artboard. However, let's say I was creating a range or an entire campaign of Swift files. Maybe banners of all different sizes. I would have to export each of them individually as separate actions if I were using Save for Web. However, here in the export dialog box, if I choose Use Artboards, I can export all of them or a specific range of them as well. Now when I click on the Export button, I actually get a whole separate dialog box called Swift Options. Now in reality, what we're focusing on right now is simply a static image. So we're not really concerned about things like animation, which a lot of these settings are really important for, especially in the advanced dialog box that you see over here. The nice thing though is that I have the ability to click on Web Preview, which is the same thing as Preview in browser, so I can see what this content looks like here inside my web browser. Or if I go back into Illustrator, I also have the ability to preview this on a mobile device using Device Central. Now as we go throughout this chapter, we're going to learn about all the settings that appear inside of this Swift Options dialog box. But for now, when it comes to exporting static artwork from Illustrator as Swift, you now know that you can do them in one of two ways, either using Save for Web or using the export function.